Hey, welcome to the show. Thanks for listening. My name is Eric Music, and if you like the show or it has helped your business in any way, I invite you to please consider supporting the show by visiting the subscription boxshow.locals.com. There you're going to get exclusive content, exclusive videos, all kinds of fun stuff we do there with our community that is found nowhere else. And you can join for free, or you can consider supporting the show for as low as $5 a month. Thanks for checking it out. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm great. Just busy morning here, but some construction going on in the back. It's loud, so I hope it's you don't hear too much. And then I had we've got a wedding rental line we do, so wedding season's upon us, so we had to get all that stuff out, dust it off from the sheds this morning. And
that's cool. What type of wedding rental?
Well, it's like, so people who have like country kind of style weddings, we have like this rustic lines of stuff they can have to put in their backyard, or their, a lot of outdoor venues now, and those kind of things are popular here in rural Manitoba. So yeah.
Cool. I'm jealous. I just got engaged in February, and we're planning a 2023 wedding. So if you were a little bit closer, that's cool. My ideal type of wedding. So I'm definitely jealous. Jake was hoping to be here today, but he's sick, so it's just going to be me.
Yeah, no problem. I got a bit of a cold here too. I got a cough once in a while, but it's I was in arenas. My kids play hockey, and I was in rinks all weekend.
Yeah,
it was my flip flops, thinking I was like trying to beat the summer here, and I think I got a bit of a cold from it. So yeah.
Fair. No, sounds good.
It's still cold in these rinks, So, anyways, we are live. This is kind of the new format. There's no fancy intro. There's no. We're just going to kind of jump right in. So. Cool. We've got Michael Vickar from Procurement. So maybe for those who've never heard of you or your service, you're out of Toronto still. That's not changed, right?
Still out of Toronto, but the team spread pretty much across Canada.
Okay,
but we're all based in Canada. Yeah, we got one member as far as BC.
Well, yeah, for the ports there. Is that why?
Yeah, just well, it also helps with the time change. A lot of what we do is overseas. And so he's on our manufacturing team, and so the time change of 3 hours, it just helps a bit. So
for sure. Okay, so yeah, what is procurement? What do you do there? What's going on?
Procurement, we're essentially a company outsourced to kind of save you time and save you money on everything procurement, the products that go inside the subscription boxes. We do so, by allowing subscription boxes to leverage our economies of scale, to leverage our expertise, whether that be in shipping alpha and tariff alpha. So really, our goal is to kind of be an outsourced member of your team. But usually, when you outsource, certain areas, graphic design, whatever it may be, you've got to pay to outsource. Our goal is to save you time, but also to save you money. So, instead of paying $3 for an item, if we can get it for $2 to your door, you're not only saving time, but saving money.
Yeah, exactly. And I know last time we used a sock example, and there's different things. What episode was that? Like, that's a while ago, man. That's like,
it was an early one,
like 50 or something, or 51, or I want to say.
So somewhere in there. I was going to say 40s, but I don't know.
Okay, could be 40s. Yeah, I know it was between, let's say, 40 and 60. So it was a while ago, and we're at like 200 and whatever now. It's been quite the ride here. Yeah. So the new format. So yeah. So if you haven't checked out what procurement is, it's procurement MINT. And as people are watching this, what's your website?
So it's www.procurement, PROCURE, as you mentioned, MINT.com.
Yeah, that's in the show notes too. So if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're going to be listening to it, it'll be in the show notes or in the comment section. So check that out. So okay, since we last talked, last time I thought it was like, what a great service you guys can offer. Have you guys? Is it still mostly subscription boxes you guys are sort of catering to? And how, so let's start there maybe. And then we're going to talk about like the challenges now with like just price increases, inflation, shipping costs, fuel. There's no shortages.
It's across the board.
It's across the board. Yeah. But first of all, like, are you still, so does that help subscription boxes, what you guys do? And how are people kind of adjusting to the new costs of the reality of what we have now?
Right. So the first part of your question of like who we work with, 99% of who we work with is subscription boxes. And I feel like, we're not just, manufacturers, subscription boxes are different lead times and timelines are so much more important to subscription boxes than your typical e-commerce business. Not that they're not important to those as well. But your June 1st product can't arrive July 1st. It's got to arrive June 1st. Where, with others, there might be a little bit more leeway. We do work a little bit with, charities and other brands as well. But the bulk majority of what we're doing is in the subscription box space. With respect to challenges, yeah, they are widespread. We're kind of the first to see the inflation coming from a raw materials perspective and stuff like that. So at first, those conversations are really difficult when we're like, hey, listen, this same product you ordered last year is now a little bit more expensive due to inflation. At first, subscription boxes or brands are hesitant and don't want to see that increase. But then eventually it flows through the model and they start realizing that no matter where you're going, those increases are there. And so eventually those conversations become easier, but we're generally the first to see that come to fruition.
Yeah. What's the biggest one? Is it the cost of raw material or is it fuel right now? What's the big one?
Yeah. So at the beginning, I think a lot of the cost of inflation is shipping costs. They are down from their peak, but when you were at 5x shipping costs pre-pandemic and it goes down to 4x, it's down from its peak, but it's not that much better.
Yeah.
And I think that's really been the main culprit. And then from there, material costs and stuff like that, I think that's kind of the second wave. But both kind of add into it to the overall.
Yeah, shipping costs. So, does it matter for you? You guys, I'm assuming, and I was doing this on my local chat. I'm just going to assume that you guys do all sea. We go ship everything by sea just to save, or is it it's such when everything was backed up? Did you have to panic and go air and just get everything here? Because I remember seeing some of your emails come through. I was like, oh man, it sounded like maybe there was you guys were getting backed up and maybe some of you guys were not in trouble, just some of the stuff you guys were affected by it as well, I should say.
Totally. I think whether you're Apple, the biggest company in the world, or a startup subscription box, you still have to go through the same ports. And so everyone's going to be equally affected. And there's some, strategic decisions you can make along the way. Maybe even if you're still going to the West Coast, sending it to the East Coast if that port's a little bit better. But you're making these decisions 25, 30 days before it actually gets to the port. So we do monitor every single day how many boats are at the port, where's the trend going, what's the average days of berth. All those things are statistics we're monitoring to make these decisions. But you're absolutely right. We were affected just like everyone else. But that's where kind of our expertise comes in is, I'd say to go back, the majority of what we do is by sea, but it really depends because sea is not always the best option. Sea shipping does have some fixed costs associated with it. And depending on your quantity or what you're shipping, air can be better. Once you're at a certain quantity, sea shipping's going to be better the bulk majority of the time. But air is totally an option. And so what we did is when those delays were happening, is we worked with our subscription boxes for any products that could be delayed and started talking about items that would make sense to airship in a short period of time. And when you're talking about certain items that are light or low volume, the difference between air and sea shipping might be very small. And so it makes a lot of sense for those subscription boxes to make that pivot.
Yeah. Timeline. Is there say someone's okay, I've got these great ideas for my box now. I used to source it from whatever, these fairs and tundras. I'm ready to kind of maybe produce my own stuff, maybe label. First of all, if they go through procurement, can they private label their things? And second part of the question is, how much in advance should they be thinking? So for, it's whatever today, May 18th. I want this in my July box. Is that or do we need, okay, now we got to think 3-4 months ahead. What's the timeline and can they private label?
Yeah, so absolutely can private label. And the timeline is going to be dependent on the item and the quantity. So for a subscription, and it also depends on, some subscription boxes want to see 3, 4, 5 iterations of samples to make sure it's going to be perfect. And as a result, they're going to plan for that. They're not going to even plan it for a box until they've seen the perfect sample. And then they'll say, oh, do you know what? This works with my July 2023 theme. Then there's other subscription boxes who are less concerned
much in
about
advance?
the design. So yeah, we've got some subscription boxes that are planned out pretty much all of 2023.
Oh, bless them. They are. That's a rocking team you got there. We're not there. I mean, we're getting better. Keep adding months, but it's so tough as a small team.
It is tough. And the truth is they're not making the orders for them, those boxes, and things can change, but they know relatively what's going to go inside the box, and they're starting to sample for
Oh,
those
that's
things.
okay. That's key.
Yeah, so they're not in production for those. When it comes to actually starting the bulk order, so again, that's going to depend on the subscription box and their timelines with respect to design and sampling. But when it comes to bulk order to delivery, the average item by air is going to take about 2 months all in. And we need to build in a little bit of buffer as well, just because we're the ones who are accountable, and there are things outside of ours or anyone else's control, such as customs. And so we want to have that buffer. So, but we say about 2 months for your average air shipped item, and about 4.5 for your average item by sea. Again, we're building in a little bit of buffer there, but we want to make sure that we're sticking to the subscription box timelines.
Would that change if it were something for Q4? So, regardless of, or does it matter for the size of the company, right? So, with the amount of products. So, let's say well, first of all, you should know what you're having, at least for the year. At least know what the products are. Okay, I'm going to backtrack because I got two questions here, and my mind's running all over. So for the sampling, I've ordered samples. I'm going to start with the sampling question because you talk about samples. I've ordered samples from China before through Alibaba. It can be pretty expensive. So I stopped doing samples, and I just told them to give me some videos or pictures or whatever was the case. How does the sampling work if you're using a service like procurement?
Good question. So it depends on the nature of our relationship and how, there's boxes we've worked with for a couple of years, and they place consistent orders. We're not going to charge them for samples. But I agree with you. I think when you're at 25,000 subscribers, you want to be, you have spending a couple $100 on multiple iterations of samples. It divides out by the cost. If you're at 25 subscribers, spending $300 on a sample, it just doesn't make sense. Same with like molds and stuff like that. Right. And so it does depend on the quantity. So that's my thought on samples. But with us, we're never going to we're just trying to flow through that cost. Our goal is the same as the subscription box's goal, which is to get a great product in the box at the right time.
Okay, cool. That answered my question. So that's good. And obviously it's somewhat obvious, but sometimes people want to have like that sample. You talk about molds. You want to touch on that a little bit more? What is a mold when you're talking about mold? I know what it is, but for someone who's like, what is he talking about? Not the mold in your bathroom walls here. We're talking about a different kind of mold. OU. So talk about that. Can people create their own products through something like you, or do they have to go through a library of existing products you already have?
Yeah. So both are options. Certain products can require certain molds. It can really depend on the item. It could be a silicone product. It can be a metal product. And what you're doing is you're kind of shaping the product it can be a ceramic item. You're shaping the product to be with a specific design. So the mold doesn't already exist. Maybe it's something extremely niche. The design is extremely niche. And depending on the material and the process, there's a cost associated with that. It can be a couple $100, it can be a couple $1,000. And so, you have to divide that cost or account for that cost. And the tough thing with molds is that once the mold is created, if you don't like it and you want to create a new mold, well, that's a new cost. And so there's some risk involved in that. Well, not risk, but you want to be sure that you like your design before sending it to the mold stage, because if you're then changing it, you're now paying for a second mold fee. So it's something we do often and something that, helps to create some customization, but just some things to be aware of.
Like most of the things that's going to go in a subscription box is not going to be huge. So what's the average cost for something like that? Say something like the size of a calculator or whatever, just something that's going to go into your average subscription box.
Yeah, we've done items, we've got a plethora of items under $1 delivered, landed. And then we've done anything to, from drones and action cameras that can be, dozens of dollars, $30-$40. Yeah, exactly. So we've done it all. So I don't know if there's an average, but the one thing I would say is if you're at under probably about 1,000 units, a lot of the time air shipping is going to make most sense because it's not worth paying the fixed cost of sea shipping. And maybe that's 500 units at 1,000 units. You can do it. And if you're air shipping, it's a function of weight and volume. And so something like a pen is going to be very economical to airship, whereas something like a water bottle like this, you want to wait till you're at a quantity where it makes sense to sea ship, because air shipping it, you're just paying for the air. You're not paying for the actual product itself. You are paying for the product itself, but a lot more of the cost is coming from the cost to ship it. And so
takes a lot of
our
place in that
recommendation,
plane. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. It takes up a lot of volume. So our recommendations are when you're under a certain quantity to choose as many lightweight and low volume items, so that you're not overpaying for the shipping portion of the cost.
Yeah, that's a good point. My second part to that question was, so we see baby products all the time, and you don't want to copy it. And I don't even know if there's like a copy, but sometimes we'll be like, it'd be cool to make our own. And we'll go to a manufacturer and they'll say, we don't have that. You have to create your own mold. Is there anything stopping you from like, and they'll say like, send us a sample. So would people send you the sample and you would then like, what's the process there? And can you do that? Can you sort of like copy and just modify it slightly so it's not copying, even if there is, or is there
Right.
even such a thing? There's just like, there's so many of these little sippy cups, for example, or, like it's a sippy cup, we don't
Right.
have the patent for
Yeah.
that sippy cup or whatever.
Exactly. So the first thing you got to make sure is that there's no utility patent or design patent on that, which we'll do a quick check. We're by no means lawyers or anything like that, but we'll do a quick check to make sure. And there's been times that we're like, hey, we can't do this item. We're not allowed. You're not allowed. Have to buy it from the brand direct. But we do have a team overseas that we can send samples to if a client wants something specific. Generally, with the internet these days, it's not as needed as it once was with materials, stuff like that. Amazon's kind of a platform that's got materials and specs and sizes for pretty much most products that subscription boxes are going to put out there. But we do have a team that will both get samples from clients to mimic or alter slightly, as well as we'll kind of combine samples. So rather than sending out 5 different samples from 5 different factories and paying 5 times the shipping cost, we'll kind of amalgamate them all in one place and ship them out together to kind of lower the cost to our end client.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, because you meant, yeah, so Amazon. So is that affected you guys at all? Like how does that work? Because people can just kind of go on Amazon now and like I think there's a like a bulk area or something, if I'm not mistaken. I've never even checked it out. I try to avoid them, but
Yeah, no, that hasn't affected us. Like at the end of the day, our main value is going to be in kind of the bespoke, custom packaging and lower pricing. Like our pricing should come in more competitive. Where Amazon kind of helps is when a client, instead of just attaching even an image or something like that, a client can send us an Amazon link, for example, and inside the Amazon link it says, "Hey, this is 5 by 7 inches. This is made of silicone." And so rather than having to send us a physical sample of that item from Amazon, a store, wherever, we can kind of see, hey, this is everything we need to know about the product that they want to create. So it kind of has all the specs kind of already pre-populated.
cool. Okay. No, I just wanted to know because I know a lot of people have been talking about like where they're getting their stuff, and it's just interesting how they do it now. So shipping, like for you guys, like I know how expensive it is to ship in Canada. So you guys so do you guys still like bring everything into your ports, whether it's East Coast, West Coast, and from there, or do you go straight to the States? Like, because you guys have a lot of American clients as well.
Yeah, I would say 85 or 90% of who we're working with is in the US. Then we also work with subscription boxes or brands in Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the UK. And yeah, so we're going straight to the port and then straight to the warehouse door. We're kind of being tactical whether we use rail or truck. Truck's more expensive, but again, um, we're trying to mitigate timelines, and so sometimes spending a little bit more is worth it because it's still way cheaper than other options, but just making sure that the product gets to you in the right amount of time. So yeah, we're kind of doing everything from factory floor to the client's warehouse.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about some of the advantages of using procurement in a second, but first, I'm bad at this. I now that there's no really structure with the show, it's just kind of free flowing. I always forget to
Sounds
kind of
good.
thank the sponsors and stuff. Um, so yeah, there's not really a sponsors necessarily today outside of SUPTA. SUPTA is always the ones going forward with their stuff, and I should actually check when this is getting aired because regardless, I just found out that Sub Summit 2023 is going to be in Dallas again. So they're going Florida and then Dallas. I think they were in Dallas the one before. But
Yeah, exactly.
so if this is airing before June 1st, it's already probably too late. Anyways, this is going to be, it won't be, I don't think. So Sub Summit's gone, guys. You missed it, but you can get the next one, 2023. In the meantime, I will say this, go to subta.com, subta.com, and just make sure to get your free or paid membership there. You can become a premium member for $99 a year, and get every single perk they offer, or you can just go and try it out for free first and see how you like it and be connected with partners. I think you guys are in there too, are you not?
Yeah.
I like Procurement. And just other subscription box brands, other entrepreneurs. I mean, it's not just subscription boxes; it's memberships, SaaS companies. It's really loaded. So probably the best place to get any kind of subscription knowledge that you would need from their live stuff, their conferences, their trade shows, like anything they offer is there. So SUBTA, Junard, if you want to get that on the screen, summers.com for people to check out. And I would also mention our locals community. You can check that out for sure. That's kind of the best place I like to hang out with, to see the creators I listen to and watch and be part of their exclusive stuff they offer. So if you want exclusive content from the subscription box show, definitely go check out Locals. What's Locals? It's an app you can download on your phone, or you can just go to the subscriptionboxshow.locals.com. You'll be brought straight to our page. You can also join for free, or you can become a supporter to get all the stuff for as low as $5 a month. I think there's a premium membership for $20 a month, where you get access to absolutely everything as well. So what kind of stuff do you get? Well, you get post-show interviews, only exclusive to supporters. When we have live streams, you can actually chat. And that's probably actually, it sounds, I don't know if frivolous is the right word. It sounds kind of like, so for the creators I listen to, I've all joined them for free. And then as soon as they did live streams and I want to chat, it was stronger than me. I had to go become a supporter because I just want to be part of that chat. You see the chat going, and it's just fun to see the conversations going on in there. You also get access to discounts to the affiliate stuff I'm part of. So Liam Brennan's course, Julie Ball's course, any kind of course that's in subscriptions, you're going to get the best discounts in the biz by becoming a supporter. So for example, or trade shows and conferences like Sub Summit, if you're a supporter, you got 50% off your ticket with us, and that's the only place you can get that. I think my deal was even better than Liam's, so take that, Liam. You get, I mean, for example, if it's an $800 ticket and you're paying $400 for 2023 coming up in Dallas, that's literally like $400 savings. Your $5 a month goes a long way. So just to say, become a supporter, help the show continue to grow. Eventually, I'd love to be able to do these things live in person, have a studio. So it's only but we need to have what do you call it, the subscription box. So Jamie, what is that guy from wait, I can't think of his name now, the biggest podcast in the world,
Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan.
Yeah, his assistant Jamie. We need Junard to be we need to move Junard from the Philippines to Canada. Sorry, Junard, you're moving. You better dress warm. But yeah, that only happens with the support guys, because this is not the full-time biz. So appreciate you guys doing that in advance. So go check that out. Download the app. And the reason I say download the app, I don't make money on the app. The experience is better on the app. Okay, so there you go. So there's my plugs. Now, where were we going here before? I said I was going to lose my train of thought here, and I did.
We were talking about shipping. We were talking about Sub Summits in a couple of weeks. We're all going down there.
It was maybe to do with shipping. Oh no, the added benefits of procurement. So people sometimes will say, you know what? Okay, I've done. So I don't know where people, when they start. I'm just going with my experience. This is my experience. When we started, pretty raw, pretty green with anything to do with business in general. But then, like, where do you source products? Like, so we went to the, we just started Googling things, and it was the tundras and the fairs. Now, would that be fair to say, like, is that competition, or is that not? That's just a different thing completely. What is that like?
I think it's indirect competition. We believe that, like, if you go 100% manufacturing, kind of using a service like ours, you don't have anything to promote to the client necessarily about, like, this brand we're working with or anything like that. But if you, on the other side, you're only working with brands, you're not really playing the margin game. And so I don't know what the right formula is. We work with about 150 subscription boxes, but for a lot of them, kind of a mix, whether it's 50-50, 75-25, where you can leverage us to increase your margins, but then redeploy that to market the fact that you're also working with brands inside the box. That's a really good mix. So, do brands from Fair and Tundra fill a spot in the box? Absolutely. But I don't really view them as competition. or if they are, they're kind of indirect competition, because I think there's a place for both.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that makes sense. I think there is because, and this is no disrespect to you, new people that are just getting started. It's a safe place to go in the beginning. I think you're going to pay a little more for your products, but if you only have 20 subscribers or five, or you're not sure even how you're in pre-launch phase, and I think it's a safe place because yeah, you're going to pay a lot more for your product. You're probably going to pay 50%. So just first off, what is Fair and Tundra, for example? So they're both the same sort of. So let's say I want to get this water bottle, this tumbler, right? Um, they have people making stuff through either procurement or directly from, say, Alibaba, and they sell it on Fair. So they're like a middleman. So like you're paying an extra step, no matter how you slice it. So you're gonna be paying more for it. So let's say it cost them $2 to make this tumbler. So Eric Music brings in these tumblers. I put it on Fair for whatever, $4, or I don't know how it would be, $5.
Right. Yeah.
And then they buy it for $5. So I make money. And then me buying this through, procurement or through directly, they make money. So there's a couple of parties that make money. Whereas you're getting rid of that. You're slicing that right off the bat as soon as you go with something like procurement. So the reason I bring that up is because that's one of the benefits is your product will be a lot lower. What other benefits? Let's keep going on that road. I know, people get, I'm just going to skip even procurement because I'm just going to go directly. But then you have, the first thing to look at is freight forwarding, and customs that can get tricky. So,
right.
Maybe talk about those advantages as well.
Yeah, I'll talk on both the advantages as well as the risk. And really the way we got started in this business was we were a brand, and we had a brand. It was called Gentlemen of the North, where we had toques or beanies, as they called them. Yeah. And socks. And one day we called the subscription box, and we said, hey, do you guys want any, beanies or toques? And they're like, hey, we would take, 5,000 of them. And they told us what they were willing to spend. And at that point, this is years back. We've never manufactured anything that quantity, and we saw them. We're like, well, they're willing to pay a lot of money, and it's because they were paying for the brand portion of it. And so we went to them. We said, hey, rather than you put 5 items in every box, that's 60 brands over the course of a year. That's 60 individual relationships you have to have, and you're paying more because it's a one-off relationship. So the brand's trying to take as much money from you as possible because they're only working with you once a year. Rather than that, work with us on all 60 items in the year. We'll bring your cost of goods sold down 25, 30, 40% because you're not going to pay a brand price. And now you only have one relationship to manage instead of 60. Mm-hmm. And that was kind of the incubation of procurement. So that's kind of on the advantage side. On the risk side, a lot of boxes do go direct overseas. And we've got a couple members of our team who have years of experience directly overseas manufacturing in China, and so they're well aware of kind of how the process works from A to Z. But really, the main thing we see is kind of, I guess two examples. One is on the import side. So a good example I like to use is customs, or sunglasses. And sunglasses require a drop ball test, and a lot of individuals in the U.S. a drop ball test. And so it's essentially a test where they'll drop the sunglasses from a certain height and make sure they don't shatter. And this is required on import. And we've seen it where a subscription box or a brand will try to import 5,000 sunglasses. They get to the border, they don't have that test done, and then their sunglasses are gone. And whatever dollar amount they paid for those, that's pretty much all gone until they can either get that test or even then it's very hard to get them back.
They don't literally I'm imagining myself, you're a customs officer, taking out glasses. Nope, failed. Let's ship them, leave them at the port here.
Right. No, it's even so. It's a test that has to be done pre-import, and you'll have the document. Yeah, exactly. You'll have the documentation. So we're kind of experts in all things importing, and so something like that is not going to happen. Another good example would be, we've made bamboo toothbrushes, for example. Same thing. There's certain tests and documents that are required, and there's also on the other side there's also certain Fda fees that have to be paid every year to import the product and to distribute the product from the manufacturing side and from the import side. And that's about $6,000 a year. So if you're making one set of sunglasses for the year, Well, you're paying $6,000 right there to the manufacturer if they don't already have it, and then also to import it. So that's $12,000. And so if you're making 2,000 sunglasses, that's $6 right there. We're making sunglasses for hundreds of brands, and so or dozens of subscription boxes, and so that $6,000 fee is divided up over tens, if not hundreds of thousands of sunglasses, and so it's pennies on the unit instead of potentially $4, $5, $6 on the unit.
Wow, that's crazy. Very interesting. I gotta ask about the sunglasses because I got looped into the old marketing funnel not too long ago and bought a pair online.
Right.
Is like, so like, for example, like an Oakley's pair of sunglasses, and I know the difference because I typically buy good sunglasses, and I can tell like they just last longer. But other than that, like the lens and stuff, like, is there really much of a difference there? Like, they all seem cheap. Like, you know what I mean? Like, some are clear. Like, I'll put a pair of Maui Jims. It's like, oh, this is so clear. But is it like more cerebral that it's like a pair of Maui Jims that if I put a pair of sunglasses from the gas station, I'm like, oh yeah, you suck. It's like, is it?
No, it's such a good point.
Yeah, like, are they really that much? And some are made in it. For example, like, what is it? The ones that are made in Italy again? Ray-Bans. It's like, I think they're made in Italy. Like,
right.
There's got to be a like the manufacturing has got to be better, I assume,
right?
Or expensive, but for the average,
I'd say this. No, go ahead. No,
I was gonna say, so I just bought a pair of Shady Rays, and even now that I say the name, that sounds brutal. It's like, it's just shady pair of sunglasses. I think you meant it, but it was like an ad, right? You get looped in. It's like, I need a new pair of sunglasses. I don't want to go pay Oakley and Maui Jim prices anymore. I'm like, forget that, because I found that the middle ground ones, like the $80 to $100 ones, are just as good, and that they last just as long, and they're not at the bottom of the barrel like the ones you get, free at a fair or whatever for walking in a trade show or whatever, in a trade show bag, for example.
I think you have it exactly right. There's essentially like 3 tiers in sunglasses. There's kind of like the gas station, super cheap. Probably the ones I'm going to go with because I lose my sunglasses all the time, and so I've learned my lessons.
But you don't lose them if you buy an expensive pair.
What do you mean? No, I do. I've lost. That's what I'm saying. That's why I can't do it anymore. I lose them all.
Actually, it's funny. It's funny you say that. We have Jet season tickets, and a couple of years ago, I left my pair of Oakleys. I just bought this new pair of Oakleys. I barely worn them. And I walk in with them like, oh, shoot, I should have left them in the vehicle, but I didn't. Put them under my seat so they don't get smashed when we're jumping around and stuff.
Right.
Left them there, and then they're gone. So you do lose them as well, but just not as frequent. But anyways.
Not as frequent. Then you got your middle tier, which is, it's not that much more expensive than the lower tier. It's a little bit higher quality. Maybe you're going with like a polarized lens instead of a non-polarized lens. Yeah. Slightly better material, but it's not that much different. And then you've got your upper echelon, which is, your acetate molds. Those are going to be over $100 retail. And those take a long time because they're injection molds, and they're perceived to be higher quality. Yeah. Do you know what? Like, I think it's one of those things, like I always talk about, PU leather and leather. So 30 years ago, everyone thought leather, it's better quality than this fake, PU leather. And that was true because of where we were kind of from like a technology standpoint. And, as a result, the price point was leather was here and PU leather was here because you were manufacturing it. 30 years later, it's kind of just a misconception because now, leather is here and PU leather is here, but our technology has gotten so good that not only is it, better for the environment and things like that, but it's actually kind of higher quality as well. But there's this misconception. And so when you talk about like higher quality sunglasses, sometimes it's the process that makes them more expensive, but are they actually better? It's 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. So,
well, I'll say this, they last longer. Like when I used to always buy Oakleys, like I would like step on them and then you could just snap the arm back in. Like those kind of things were priceless. Like it was so good. Like they would not, it's unbelievable how like they were so durable. Until I finally burnt an arm. I left it too close to a candle and my arm melted. That's what it took to destroy my.
That's what it took. Yeah, exactly.
But where the other ones, they're literally walking in, like one pair, like gas station fell apart. It was like just crumbled almost. It's like, what's going on? They failed. Yeah. They must have failed the what do you call the drop ball test or
The
whatever?
drop ball test. Yeah.
But yeah, that middle ground, I think, like to your point, like that shady raise I paid, I think $80 for. I had bought a pair of, I think it was like, oh, something like at the Bay. I don't know what the Bay equivalent would be in the States, but the Canadian, the Bay. I was like a pair of Guess. I think it was like Guess or one of those kind of like, whatever.
Right.
David Bitton.
Yeah.
Buffalo kind of sunglasses. So it's like middle of the range. So they're maybe you're just paying for that name, but I did feel like they were better quality and they did last a little bit longer as well. So
yeah,
going down a rabbit hole of sunglasses.
Yeah, it's an interesting question though. Like it's an interesting debate on where's the right price to quality level.
Well, it's like actual glasses because I wear glasses as well, and I tried those zany optical from overseas here from China. And you could get 3 for like, this is like years ago. It was like 3 pairs for like, I paid $50, I think, for like 3 pairs. That's cool because you can try different styles, but same thing. They bend or they like, and the ones I pay, $200-$300 for at the optometrist, I know they're making a ton of money on them, but they just seem to last longer as well.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree with that. One other thing I wanted to say or talk about is, there's one area where we can't compete. And where that would be is in what I call DDP, and our service is kind of DDP. It's all in. When we quote 228 delivered, you're never going to get a tariff bill or anything like that. Our quotes include credit terms. Our quotes include insurance, so you're not liable if anything happens. We're not liable if anything happens. It creates a nice symbolic relationship. But the one area we can't compete is when a manufacturer overseas does, DDP direct to your door. And the reason is a lot of the time it's not necessarily done in the right way. And so what I mean by that is they might, manufacture a product, and let's say that product is, $10 just for simplicity purposes, and the tariff rate is 30%. Well, then, you owe the government when you import that product $3 in tariffs, the 30% of $10. And you'll see sometimes where, a manufacturer will quote that DDP price at $11, let's say. And you're like, well, how are they quoting it at $11 if it costs $10 to manufacture? And the way they're doing that is when they import the product, you've already paid them up front. So their risk is off the table. And what they'll do is when they import the product, instead of writing $10 on the customs form, they'll maybe write $2. So now when they owe 30% of that $2, that's only 60 cents instead of $3. So they just saved $2.40. They'll pocket some of that. They'll pass some of that back on to you so you can save some money, and it's a lower price. But really, it's illegal. And 98% of the time, 99% of the time, that's going to get through, and customs isn't going to, catch that. But the 1 or 2% of the time they do, the manufacturer's fine. They've already been paid, and that risk falls back onto, the client. And so the product doesn't arrive, or, when you're out your money, there's no insurance on it. And so a lot of risks there. And then on top of that, you're just not running a sellable, proper business. It's kind of like saying, before, let's say marijuana was legal in Canada, it's kind of like saying you're a business owner, but you sell weed. It's like, well, that's not legal. And so, or it's kind of like saying, I do X amount in after-tax profit, but you don't pay taxes. Well, sure, but that's not legal. And so sometimes clients, will say, hey, we've got a manufacturing price of $10 and a DDP price of 11. We're like, well, the tariff rate on that item is 30%. That's not legal. And so we can't compete with that. Everything we do is going to be done legally, done the right way. And so when we're going to come out higher priced, we're not going to take on risk for ourselves. We're not going to take on risks for our clients because that doesn't build a long-term relationship. And so in those situations, we just won't compete.
Gotcha. So what would that look like? So for that example, what would your price look like then for something like that?
Well, so our price is gonna, if it's a $10, I'm using that $10.
Just an example.
Just the example purpose. So tariff rate's 30%, so you're at 13 right there, and then add in your shipping. And so our pricing is going to come in maybe let's say $14, depending on how big the item is and everything like that. So we're at 14. Clients
someone's gonna see the 11 and be like, oh, well, just go with the 11.
Yeah, and they're like, well, you guys are 30% more expensive, and it's like, of course we're 30% more expensive. We can't compete with that, and so that's where we won't succeed.
So if you're shady, that's the way to go, folks. That's the you don't mind being shady business. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. Shadybiz.com. Cool. The old bait and switch, is that something people do they still do that? And I know they do, but is that something that still people should be aware of or scared of?
What do you mean? In what context like that?
Okay, so I've talked to a guy who's got a sock subscription. and they had got these beautiful socks, and they sent samples, and they wanted certain things because to stay up on the leg or whatever. So they ordered some of those, and because they liked those. The first order came through and it was fine, and then when they did tests on their socks that came in later on that they kept ordering, that wasn't the case. They were giving them something manufactured cheaper. So like they baited them in to get this higher product they're paying a premium for, because it was like exclusive to their brand and their sock company, that this is why their sock was the best. And then they switched the product on them.
Totally. Yeah, I'd say it's very common. Changing the material, making it look the same, but it's not the same. With us, we kind of mitigate that in two ways. One is quality control. So, there are QC firms that we can send in, and it requires, not that much more time, an additional week or so. The big issue with that, with subscription boxes in particular, is, well, let's say something did go wrong, hypothetically, in quality control. Does the subscription box have the time to even mitigate that issue? And so what's the purpose if there's no recourse, then what's the point of even doing it? And so we'll do that for subscription boxes that plan with enough time to do so. And we do it in general, but sometimes, there's not much recourse anyways. But the other is having vested relationships with your suppliers. So again, that comes back to that like one-off relationship versus a vested interest. When we're going to production to manufacture a trinket tray, for example, with a ceramic manufacturer, we probably are also making a incense holder. We're probably also making a ceramic mug. We might have 4, 5, 6 items in production with that one manufacturer at that given time. And so their vested interest in gaining our business is equal in our vested interest in having a quality product show up. And they know that if something goes wrong, even though we may have paid already all for that order and everything like that, they want to continue earning our business. And so they're going to do the appropriate steps to correct the action or the mishap. And so having that vested relationship in each other's businesses makes a lot of sense, because you're doing ultimately what's right for the end client.
Okay. So I got a question when it comes to like trends we've seen. Is there trends that have changed the way people fill their subscription boxes? Maybe you've seen since COVID. And specifically, I would talk about, like, for example, my company, where we want a lot with like supporting local makers. Now you pay for that because that's kind of like you're bringing back in the middleman. But is there trends like have you seen subscription brands do to help either cost or to get their boxes kind of like a no-brainer for people to kind of choose? Like, for example, like going all exclusive products and using something like procurement, or versus like half your box is exclusive, half your box isn't, or anything like that? Or is it kind of hard to pinpoint?
Yeah, so I would say I'd agree with you that when you're starting off, better to go to brands, because less of a lead time, can predict quantities and all those things. And let's say your box costs $25, and in your first couple months it costs $30 to fulfill the items that go inside the box. Maybe you lose $5 on 20 items, and that's $100, but it's not a big deal because you're building the brand and you're learning if there's an actual target market there.
Yeah.
When you're at 5,000 units, if you can save $1 on a unit on five items that go inside the box, that's $5,000. That's $60,000 over the course of the year. It makes a lot of sense. So it depends on where your quantity's at. It's funny. I've heard some people talking about, like, willing to pay more for, to work with brands to ensure that, like, products are done in a certain way or locally made. And I was thinking about that, and I'm like, how do you really know though? Like, a lot of the time the brand is making it overseas, or like, really, to me, it seems like it's also just a reason to charge more. And with inflation already happening, I was like, how do you really know that someone's not still doing, this level of service? Kind of like what you were talking about with the bait and switch. And with technology these days, you can put up a website in 2 days and say it's a legitimate brand, and you think, oh, I'm supporting local, I'm going to pay $5 instead of $2. But you could have actually just paid $2 and it would have been the exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my fear with that. But really, I think the magic formula that I've seen with successful subscription boxes, and I could be wrong, we only work with a certain number, and we work with a variety of niches, but I think it's some sort of combination of both. And again, you could argue if it's 25-75 or 75-25, but I really do believe you need the margin to support the brand and the brand to support the marketing, and the extra margin you're saving from the items you do manufacture direct, invest that into more marketing to market those brands. And so if you have both, you kind of have a great trifecta.
Love it. Yeah. For example, like we have, some exclusive products and some where we support local makers, and some of the local makers legit make their stuff by hand or whatever, and some of them it's sometimes a local company that was supported, like a local small business, which they manufacture their stuff overseas. It's like the same stuff we could have made, but we went through them, so that we're still, like our value prop is support small businesses, whatever, and that's still the case. But you know that their stuff came from, has their logo on it, and it's like a baby sippy cup that clearly was made of silicone, molded in China, like, you know what I mean? So, yeah, to your point, but you're still supporting them, so it's just, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, and people see that. So I mean, it's not tricky. It's just, it is what it is. Like that's that lady's company, so.
100%. And that's where, like, you can kind of both ways work to achieve the same result. So you pay, let's say the item costs $2 if you manufacture direct and $5 buying from a brand. You can either use that $3 to buy from the brand and you're supporting the brand, or buy for the $2 and use that $3 to invest in a local marketing company. And, actually, so both kind of work, or invest in more employees. Whatever it may be. So regardless, you're still supporting local, but to the end consumer, they see it as you're supporting brands and local brands. So.
Yeah, exactly. They don't care that you're using marketing company from here.
Totally.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. Is there anything else you want to kind of touch on when it comes to the services you offer? This, when just talking about this, actually, I got another question. Like, do you work with brands like that are, say, for example, I'm just thinking of local makers now that I do know source overseas. Like, do you work with like those kind of local makers that support some of the stuff goes in subscription boxes?
Yeah, for sure. We're making right now 5,000 toques for a Canadian charity. We just made 1,000 t-shirts for a music, I guess, like a classical music band. We absolutely
that kind of
work
stuff.
with.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really just kind of across the spectrum. Anyone that really wants to procure products in a custom way at a low cost, we're kind of here to help. The one thing I would add, I guess, is, I was talking at the beginning about outsourced labor and how we plan to save money. But I think where that's most true is for subscription boxes in the US. And the reason I say that is because the Canadian dollar is about 30% weaker than the US dollar. Weak sauce. I know it sucks when we travel to the US because everything costs 30% more. But for, I believe that the labor in Canada is just as skilled as the labor in the US. It's kind of apples to apples.
Yeah.
And essentially you're getting it at a 30% discount. So working with a Canadian company to kind of help with these things, you're getting the same thing that, a US company could do for you, but at a 30% discount because of just the exchange rate. Yeah. And so I think it's just a huge competitive advantage. It's someone in your own time zone. It's someone who understands what you're doing. It's, we're kind of thought as of the 51st state. We're kind of, the US's hat. And so we're all else equal, just 30% cheaper. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, does that reflect, because you could have, you could probably do your pricing where it's like, it's $1 Canadian or US, whatever, like, depending on where they're signing in from. But if that's not like, it's an incredible savings. I know we talked about it last time, so I knew this, but it's like, we can't forget to mention that. Like, what a huge thing. So if you're in the States and you're listening to this, or if you're in the UK, I mean, same idea, right? Like you're the, what is it? Not the euro or the pound. It's like even more so than the US dollar. I think, like, it's crazy. Like, so our Canadian dollar is weak sauce. So take advantage. Like, you guys get an automatic discount just for, I should actually set up my website in the States and then
exactly,
order the Canadian stuff. It's so even our American moms that subscribe, like, they get an automatic discount. I don't think Americans even realize how much of a discount they get with working with Canadian companies. So usually they get freaked out by the shipping costs because they've maybe tried to ship their box or whatever. They see there's like a crazy price and they're like, no, but I'm not talking about shipping your boxes here. I'm about getting your stuff,
actual box,
your actual stuff in your box.
Yeah, $30 is really, if you see $30 Canadian, you're really paying $20 US for that. So
100%. Yeah, you guys get an automatic discount just for where you live. So take advantage of that. If you're American, reach out to Michael and his team, and they can for sure help you out. On top of everything we just talked about, an additional 30% discount just for the zip code you live in.
Exactly.
Yeah, crazy. Well, I think that's kind of what I wanted to cover. Did you have anything else?
No, that's amazing. We're excited to see you in a couple of weeks. First drinks on us. We're pumped. We're pumped to finally put face to the name in person, in the flesh. So excited.
Yeah, for sure. So okay, cool. Well, then let's break off right now, and then again, let's talk about your website. Are you guys on? You're on LinkedIn, I'm assuming, but what about like Instagram? Is there even a reason for you guys to be on Instagram, or what's the?
We're on there, but like,
it's whatever. Yeah,
B2B is so different.
Yeah, it's a different.
We should have more of a presence.
Well, I don't know if people would go there for that. I think LinkedIn is a good place to connect. Let's talk about your website again. Yourprocurement.com.
Exactly. Right.
And procurement, guys, MINT. Okay. It's kind of a play on words. Why did you guys do that? Was just like was it a URL thing that was not taken, or was it something else?
I think the tagline at the time was like, refreshing the procurement process or something like that. So kind of just tried to get cute with it, I think.
And there's a saying here. A lot of the guys, there's a nearby town that they always say, that's mint. That's mint.
That's mint.
That's mint. I don't know if that's a thing in the GTA, but it is here in the rural parts there. That is minty.
All those things come east. We're going to get that in a couple of months from now.
Cool. Well, thanks for your time, Michael. Really appreciate it again. And again, go visit yourprocurement.com. Michael and his team will put together some quotes. Yeah, maybe talk about, did you guys do like kind of like a free quote, or does it cost something to get your business analyzed, or just email something as just as simple as emailing your ideas and they can see if you.
Exactly. We've got a client dashboard we can get you set up on. It's really a great tool. And we'll do all the custom quotes, sampling. Our pricing includes artwork if that's required. So there's no cost to try. That's what we always say. Like maybe you're paying $5 and we come in at $3, and there was no upfront fee to discover that. So
yeah. And he's Canadian, so he's very polite. He's not going to be pushy, so you can feel comfortable. It won't be some pushy sales pitch. It's not like it really isn't. So go check that out. It might just be what you're looking for to propel your business to the next level. So thanks for doing this, Michael, from Procurement. Yourprocurement.com. Check them out, and we will check you on the flip side. Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much. We'll see you soon.
Cheers.